Well, there's a few events that I refuse to miss every single year, only a handful, and one of them is a thing called the Friedman Conference. You could be forgiven for wondering, well, what's that? I've never heard of it before. Well, you and about 25.5 million other Australians have also never heard of it before. It's essentially the Libertarian Conference in Australia. It's put on by the Australian Libertarian Society and the Australian Taxpayers Alliance, but don't take my word for it that it's an unmissable event. I've got Barclay McGain from the Australian Taxpayers Alliance here with me to tell us all about it. Now, before we go to you, Barclay, I will remind our viewers we're giving away 2 tickets. The Aussie Wire is giving away 2 tickets to the Australian Taxpayers Alliance and Australian Libertarian Society Friedman Conference. It's hosted in Sydney every single year. I will be there only for a half day, Barclay, and it's killing me because I have to then switch to being on the Donald Trump Jr. tour. Tell me, what am I going to miss out on by not being there for the whole conference this year?
Well, g'day, Topher, and thanks for having me on. Yes, we do have a smorgasbord of speakers this year. So it runs over 3 days, 7th to 9th of July at the Aerial Function Centre in UTS in Sydney. Generally not a favourable place for libertarian ideas and free thought, but we certainly make it there. It's our little hive mind for a 3-day period. So it runs over 3 days, as I said. On the Friday night, we've got a bit of a student-style conference, and then on the Saturday, we focus more in on separate political issues. So we go from panel to panel. Some will be on harm reduction and talk about drug legalization. We've got some others based on freedom of speech. Some others talking about the COVID period. I know you've been quite outspoken on that, obviously, with your documentary Battleground Melbourne, which premiered last year at the conference. And then on Sunday, we focus on a number of other issues like woke capitalism. That's another big topic that people are interested in hearing on. So the theme of this year's conference is definitely taking on people who've risen to the challenge of rising up on the right side of politics in the face of seemingly every institution not going our way. So, we've got a great lineup, yourself included, Topher. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be great, bringing together a couple hundred of the nation and indeed the world's best libertarian minds. So looking forward to it.
So libertarianism, this might be a new word for some people. In a nutshell, in sort of what's the best you can do of a one-sentence description? They say if you get 2 libertarians into a room, they'll have 3 different definitions of what a libertarian is, right? Okay, so this is a contentious issue. I'm asking you to step on a landmine here, Barclay, but do the best you can. What is a libertarian?
I think fundamentally libertarians believe in getting the government out of your life. And now that obviously to most people's minds, it takes place in the social realm, allowing people to live the life the way they want. But It also takes on a very economic side. And that's where the economic conservatism kind of begins to come in. And that is, both of them are large incursions in our day-to-day life. I mean, we saw during the COVID era, that was more of the freedom of movement, the freedom to interact with others, and of course the medical freedom. But economically, I mean, we've seen the growth of government, grow largely over the last 50 years. It's actually quite exponential, and it's happening at a state and a federal level. And that's something where, we have the Friedman Conference, we discuss these ideas, and, we've even had a lot of people who were previous attendees of the Friedman Conference now be elected into Parliament. And I think David Limbrick is a shining example of that down in Victoria. And he was essentially the de facto opposition leader during the time, given how weak the Liberal Party opposition was there against Daniel Andrews down in the state of Victoria. But, we've got a number of shining lights. And again, as I mentioned before, it's international. We've got Spike Cohen coming. He was the Libertarian Party vice presidential candidate at the 2020 presidential election. And I mean, they're the 3rd largest political party in the United States, supposedly the shining hallmark of all democracies. And, it's a great opportunity to have someone like him there who, has some more nuanced takes than what you'd expect from the Republican Party, where they kind of deal in, cliches and quotes, and they're beholden to all of their donors. You can genuinely be sure that Spike is someone who, when he speaks, he's speaking his mind. And they were able to achieve an admirable result at the 2020 election. So he's going to be definitely a headline act.
Look, one of the questions people are asking me quite a lot, because I'm best known now for my work during COVID, even though I'd already been a political commentator and somewhat of an activist for 10 years before COVID came along. People ask me, well, what's next? What do we do now? Most of the, not all, but most of the mandates have fallen away. Most of the restrictions have fallen away. What do we do now? And I'm telling people about, well, we need to actually make it so that what just happened can't happen again. And that's not about picking a side of politics, left versus right. I think both of those sides actually like big government. They just want it to behave in a certain way and use its power in their direction. Whereas a libertarian, which I am as well, says, well, the government shouldn't have that power in the first place. What can people expect coming to a conference like the Friedman Conference? It is Australia's premier libertarian conference, but a lot of people say, what's the point of a conference? Just a bunch of people talking. Why would someone come along?
Well, I think as you pointed out at the beginning of the show, it's not the case that we all just go around in a room and nod heads with each other and say, "Oh yes, I concur. I concur. I agree." As you pointed out, there's an array of views on the libertarian aisle. You've got some people who are coming who are pretty unashamedly call themselves conservatives, and when they hear the idea of small government, they're kind of like, "Well, I kind of want the government to dictate some part of my life," and they believe in the state. And then you've got the other spectrum, which is the full-on anarchists or the anarcho-capitalists, and then you've got people I assume, like yourself and myself, who I guess you could say are minarchists or believe in some kind of small state there to protect our individual liberties. And that is truly what I believe the rights and responsibility of the state is. So you've got a really big spectrum, and you actually do end up having a number of debates. And I know one of the debates that we're having this year is about the constitutional monarchy. Obviously, we've just had the coronation of King Charles III, and there's I guess a bit of a rift on the right side of politics, or indeed libertarian politics, about whether having this old system of an outdated monarchy is indeed upholding the system of freedom and libertarianism, or whether a shift to a republic would actually result in worse incursions on freedom and libertarianism. So that's going to be a very interesting and topical talking point, I think, this year. And of course, the voice to Parliament. I think you'll find that there is far less of a rift in the room on a topic like that, because fundamentally we are all about judging the individual and the rights of the individual. And you'll see that the voice to Parliament from head to toe is all about groupthink. So we're pretty resolutely opposed to that. But I think you'll find the reasons why we should be opposed to that obviously do differ. So there's a lot of room for discussion. It is certainly not an echo chamber. And we do have a variety of speakers who fundamentally do disagree with each other, but they all can come together, have a drink. And that's the thing. It's not just a battle of ideas. It very much is a social occasion. On the Saturday night, we are hiring out a boat that cruises the Sydney Harbour. And that's going to be a very fun-filled night. So it's not all academic rigor, Topher.
And I'm going to miss that fun-filled night because I'll be at the Donald Trump Jr. dinner the night before the Donald Trump Jr. event in Sydney. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to partake in the best of the fun, but I am speaking at the conference on the Saturday morning. So if for no other reason, I encourage you, grab yourselves a ticket. If someone wanted to find out more, if someone wanted to grab a ticket, Barclay, where would they go?
Yep, so they can go to the Australian Taxpayers Alliance website. It's australiantaxpayersalliance.org.au, and they can follow the links to our website. There is a number of ticketing options, all the way through to the VIP swanky kind of option, to like the cheap student or volunteer option, or just general attendee. We really do cater to all types, and there's a number of discount codes out there. I believe we might even have one prepared for the Aussie Wire, and if we don't, we certainly will have one prepared. And if you're lucky enough, hey, there's 2 tickets being given away by this show, so make sure you pay attention to that.
Well, Barclay, you've plugged it perfectly. We are giving away 2 tickets to our insiders. The link to become an insider is going to be in the description of this video. There will, for those that don't win the tickets, be a discount code. You can get 20% off the cost of a ticket. If you're an insider, you've got to be in the insiders to be able to get that code from us. Look, Barclay, it is always fun. It's a shame that I'm going to miss most of it this year because of I can't be in 2 places at once. But believe me, if I could be, I would be there, absolutely for sure. And I do look forward to seeing you there, and hopefully lots of our viewers will be coming along as well. Thank you so much for coming on the Aussie Wire.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Topher, and thanks for all you do. I love the Aussie Wire. It's a great experiment, so go well.
Thanks, mate.